This is Indie Book Publishing. Indie Book Publishing is a show about new books and the authors who wrote them. It's an opportunity for prospective readers to hear directly from the writers, to hear what inspired them to write and publish, and to hear all the inside details about their books. And now, Indie Book Publishing with your host, Steve Jorgensen.
Greetings for Steve Jorgensen and for Indie Book Publishing. This is J. Douglas Barker. A Balboa press release titled The Sun, the Moon, the Stars, and Maya. Our author is Rich Okun. Thank you, Rich, for joining us today.
Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I looked over your bio. You have an interesting past, and all of a sudden you've decided to do some writing. How did you get motivated to write this book? Tell us a little bit about your past also.
Sure. Let's see. Relevant past is at 6 years old, I was the youngest student of the Art Students League in New York, which is right across the street from Carnegie Hall. Had a lot of famous artists there, and I was about the youngest artist that they ever allowed in. But after I got to college, I realized that if I continued in art, I would become a starving artist, and I like eating too much, so I decided to do just about everything else. I flew airplanes for the Air Force for many years. Then I got out of that and came back east and got into corporate America and did various positions, primarily in financial services, where I was in the leasing of equipment and also bill payment companies. And I was always in a senior position. And then about 6 years ago, I decided to leave corporate America and started a small online business with my sister and brother-in-law, a bead store. And we did moderately well, but not enough to support the two families. And so, but along with that, what I decided to do was to start a blog to try and explore some of the spiritual side of the customer base. And beads and stones are very spiritual in nature and very ancient. So I started a blog, and I would come up with thoughts that were spiritual, and I would then find a quote that somebody notable had written. I would then expand upon that quote in some written format, and then I would go and find pictures on the internet to kind of illustrate what I was trying to say. And that became fairly popular. I had over 120 countries that were looking at it. I put a translate on the page, and I found that some of the writings were surprising me. I had never really written before. I was in art, so I decided to start exploring some of the other creative sides of what I could do. And then about 2 years ago, a year before we decided to close down that business, I was asked by my daughter to perform her wedding, and I was lucky enough to be able to become a justice of the peace to be able to perform that wedding. And it was a summer, and we had just gotten Maya, which is our Shih Tzu puppy. 2 months prior to that, our Shih Tzu puppy had died. We had him for 15 years, Sammy. And when we got Maya, I would take her for walks down our driveway, and I'm sort of like Tevye, the father from Fiddler on the Roof, and I'm always talking to Spirit, always talking to God. I'm always asking the same questions: why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And how can I help? And I never got an answer. And I always expected something like James Earl Jones's booming voice to say, "Just do this, Rich, and I'll do that and be happy." But it never changed how I felt about my belief system. So it was a warm day in July of 2011, and I was walking by, and I was thinking about what to say for my daughter's wedding, and I decided to, have a conversation with God and tell a joke and share the story, and then I asked the same questions: what am I here for? Why? What should I be doing? And this time I actually heard a whisper. And I was taken back. And the whisper said to me that I should continue doing what I was doing, only use Maya as my muse, illustrate her as opposed to using photographs, and do it to help children and parents closen their relationships and talk about spiritual matters and such. And I was taken aback. I really did. I got a spirit chill and everything, and it made me wonder. And I didn't act on that right away, but a year later, when I closed the business, decided to follow that voice, and it led to writing a book. And I fully illustrated it now, so now I'm using Maya as the illustration as opposed to finding photographs on the internet.
Well, let me interject this for the listeners. The illustrations are spectacular. Rich, you've done a fabulous job on that.
Well, thank you.
And continue. I'm sorry. I just am startled that your artwork is so good. I mean, I do have other artists and other writers who do interject artwork, but yours is a notch above. I really do think it's spectacular.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate hearing that, Jay. And what's happened is I started with physical media, and I was all my life, and I've done art all the time, and I typically do it for the giveaway. Everything I do is in a spiritual bent. So I would, like I said, when I was young, I decided that I couldn't be anything but a starving artist, and that wasn't going to pay the bills. But I came to a different conclusion, like when I heard those voices, and whether it's me inside that finally got the courage and did it, or some outside voice that I'm hearing, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to try and logic it away, but whatever was trying to get through got through. And what I started to do was to explore some of the digital media, and found that the Wacom tablet, which took me a year to get used to, and some of the Corel Painter software, which was incredible. You can actually create your own brushes to do all kinds of things. So the stuff that you're looking at, if I did it in physical media, would take days, if not weeks. Now I can do that in a matter of hours.
Amazing.
And cleanup's a breeze, which is very nice. And some of my later stuff is really starting to surprise me. So I've got very good subject matter in Maya, and I like to paint her in lots of different poses and places. It gives me a chance to explore the creative side and share it to hopefully for a good end.
We have 64 pages and some, I would say, great commentary. Is there anything that's your favorite as far as the comments that you have made and the poetry you have espoused in here?
Yeah. Jay, everything that is in there and everything that I write since is all a personal experience. So what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to give any answers, because I've studied world religions all my life, and I consider myself very spiritual. But I also understand that there are lots of paths, and they're all correct as long as it sounds, as long as it's the voice that you hear, and that's what's important. So I'm not trying to answer any questions. I'm trying to beg the question as opposed to give answers. And so a good example would be one that's very personal. It was something that I wrote as I was pondering this new direction. It's called Begin Our Real Journey. It starts with a quote by Wendell Berry. "It may be that when we no longer know what to do, we have come to our real work, and that when we no longer know which way to go, we have begun our real journey." And that, what I like to say is that all the poetry is written by Maya, and she speaks lyrically all the time in rhyme.
Talented dog.
She's very talented. And so she replies, "There comes a time at the end of the road, which ladder to climb, too much that is owed. Doubt overcomes your sense of worth, when fear becomes false meanings unearth. That is when the voices speak out. Start over again, the voices will shout. Only then can you know what's been hidden too long. No more status quo, it's always been wrong. But this time it's different. Older and wiser you'll be. With courage in an instant you'll find you are free."
Well, tell us your target audience with this wonderful book.
Yeah, that's a great question. I wrote it with intention to be true to the integrity of what I heard, and that was to write it in a simple language so that children and the child in all of us can understand it easily, and that it could be used by parents to actually speak about very, very complex matters in a way that would hopefully engage them, which is why all the illustrations are very vivid color, and also using Maya as the muse, if you will. But what I'm finding is that the audience that really likes it is the adults. So it's not unlike, and I'm not comparing my work to this great Dr. Seuss, but he wrote for adults. It just happened to be couched in cartoon characters that children could also enjoy. And most of the good children's writers really were writing for adults. The answer is that it's parents, children, grandparents. It makes a terrific gift for them, but also the child in you. So anybody of any age. I'm right now in the process of completing the development of an app. It's going to be called Maya's Daily Meds. And it'll be on the iPhone and the iPad, and it'll shoot, one vignette. I call these things a standalone vignette, which is basically a quote, a poem, an illustration, and I'll do an audio reading, and it'll come to your device once a day. And so I'm quickly illustrating 365, different poems. And what I'm trying to do is get a full year in place before I launch. But I've also got enough material for 3 or 4 more books, and I was just picked up by a more traditional publisher. We're talking about publishing 3 or 4 more of my books sometime in the near future.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Is there any book in the marketplace that has the same theme or format that you've seen, or is this unusual?
I haven't seen this same format. The format seems fairly unique, and of course the words are unique. There are other places that do quotes. There are some that do interpretations of those quotes, but I've never seen any of the full range of what I'm doing here. So it's a fairly unique format.
It sounds like you're on a roll, as they would often say. Is there anything that's been challenging about putting this together? Has it just fallen into place?
Well, putting it together has not been challenging. As all authors and anybody in the creative arts, falls into this category, the real challenge is exposure, is getting good people like yourself to get the word out about our material so that others can review it, see if it's something that resonates with them, and if it does, then pass that on. And so that's a process that takes time. It takes a lot of patience. I wrote a quote saying it takes a village to write a book, not to write it, but to get it to be known, and it really does. It takes friends, it takes people like yourself, it takes outside consultants, it takes a whole bunch of things. So the big challenge is getting the exposure so people see it and know it. Once they see it and know it, I've had no problems whatsoever, and so I'm grateful to be on that path, and I thank you so much for your opportunity.
Absolutely delighted to visit with you. Are there any themes in this book that you think are current and transcend time and space?
Actually, every single one of them does. The reason that I came up with the title, The Sun, the Moon, the Stars, and Maya, which is a collection of little sayings about enormous things, is because it's really kind of a catalog of various spiritual attributes, whether it's love, compassion, spirituality, divinity, infinity. There's courage, fear. There are many different titles. My thoughts are that the next books will be more theme-oriented, so there may be a book, only of compassion quotes and thoughts and related illustrations. But they're all timeless, and they're not religion-oriented; they're spiritually-oriented. So there's some of Jesus Christ's teachings in there. There's some of Buddha's teachings in there. There's Sigmund Freud's teaching. It doesn't prejudice any of that.
Thank you for joining us today. The book title again is The Sun, the Moon, the Stars, and Maya, collection of little sayings about enormous things, written and illustrated by Rich Okun. Thank you, Rich, for joining us. How do we get copies of your book?
You can get it on Amazon. You can come to my site and get it on the Balboa site. My site is one word, www.thesunthemoonthestarsandmaya.com. No spaces, no capitals. You can order it in any of the bookstores. We're distributed through all of the online stores.
Thanks, Rich, for joining us.
Thank you very much, Jay.
For Indie Book Publishing and Balboa Press, this is J. Douglas Barker.